let's dive a little deeper into the various ways by which mental models can be elicited and the history of the current user-centered design methods to elicit mental models. As you can imagine, there are many ways of eliciting these mental models, broadly classified into direct ways methods or indirect methods. Direct methods involve things like card sorting and group mapping of activities, where you can understand a user's understanding uh, of a space as a group, and as to how they interact with various things. So these have their own place, card sorting as well as group mapping. But card sorting has been the primary method used to understand how people categorize information, and this has helped in creating information architecture by revealing the mental models or how people organize content. And the origin and development of card sorting are rooted in various fields, coming from, like, say, cognitive psychology, library sciences, HCI, and even influences to this one certain gentleman by the name S.R. Ranganathan, and the concept of faceted classification in the early 20th century, which is slightly different from card sorting, but involves organization of information in multiple categories or facets. And This really allowed for more flexible and user centric, if you will, ways of classifying and retrieving information compared to scientific methods in that day and age, right? So when things were heavily determined by scientific methods, this was one of those methods which had some influence in terms of how current direct elicitation methods were or current direct elicitation methods evolved. Um, from a cognitive psychology standpoint, uh, the principles of card sorting can be traced back to the categorization of information processing, starting with chunking. From a Miller standpoint, the magical number seven, obviously, and the idea that the people can only hold on to a certain limited set of information at a period of time. So organizing things in small chunks of cards and putting them in relation to each other can help people make sense of more complex concepts. So that definitely had some influence on it. In 50s and 60s, cognitive psychologists really conducted research on how people categorize objects and concepts, and this explored how individual group items based on attributes and hierarchical structures. um, Prototyping, basic level categorization, all these methods were in use. And This kind of had some influence on card sorting. Also had some influence from methods in library sciences, in organizing information. Um, and if you remember IBM's Easy Sort, I remember that. I think that was the name of the tool. That used to be a free tool available in the early 2000s. Definitely, maybe prior to that as well, because once I started practicing in early 2000s, this tool was available to me as a free resource, which I leveraged at that point in time, and was very useful. Yeah, so I remember that, and those are some influences in terms of, like, starting with all these cognitive psychology, library sciences, um, and human computer interactions. Obviously, all these had uh, influence on the individual card sorting method. Kearney and Kaplan coined a method similar to current card sorting called concept content cognitive map, also called the 3CM method, which really works like the current card sorting method, but it was much later, I think, I believe in 1998. Um, Another direct method was developed by Ossesme and Ossesme 2004, called fuzzy cognitive mapping, which involved defining different variables of a system and then organizing them to illustrate the understanding of an issue, mostly in the context of land management, I believe. but had some influence in terms of how you could organize information in a structured form, and some indirect methods would be would be the origin of starting with the origin of think aloud method, and that can be traced to the early 20th century to Wint and Titchener, which really involved systematic observation and reporting of experiences. But these were like subjective. So think aloud emerged as a more structured approach of introspection, and later was used for user-centered design as well, formalized in the formalized in the 1980s. But prior to that, Herbert Simon in 1970 and Alan Newell had a book named Human Problem Solving in 1972, which kind of introduced a method as a means of studying the problem solving strategies and cognitive processes of individuals engaged in complex tasks. Which was a foundation in cognitive sciences, providing rigorous kind of methodologies to understand the examination of broader thought processes involved in decision making and problem solving as well. Um, Cognitive task analysis is another indirect method, and it really emphasizes a comprehensive understanding of human performance. It includes cognitive, physical, and environmental factors, and has direct applications in many complex domains such as aviation, healthcare, and also even in expert software systems. This is really another thread which is kind of evolving, basically, which is the coolness of user-centered design and the methodology and its wide application, not only in a task performance, but also strategy and decision making and many other related fields as well. So, really eternally thankful to be in this field. And That's just one side note. And in 1992, like Carley and Palmquist created a representation of a mental model made up of concepts and relations through the means of interview. Abel 1998 used a model called transect walk method, which is kind of like contextual task analysis, and which is asking a series of open-ended and semi-structured interview questions while they walked uh, an area to elicit people's understanding of um, landscape processes. But obviously, 1997 itself, Bayer and Hofstadter had identified the current process, which we call the contextual inquiry. And Ethnography had laid the foundation of understanding of context in user research. So ethnography definitely had an influence of this. Then came participatory design in 1970s, involving end users in co-design processes, and Think Aloud. Newell and Simon, as I mentioned earlier, they had a certain influence on Think Aloud, and then later Bayer and Hofstadter in contextual design in 1997. So definitely a lot of influences and a lot of giants whose shoulders that people stand on today, and I use these methods. The reason why I wanted to bring up this topic of conversation is because um, these methods have scientific underpinnings, and these are very much rooted in how a human mind processes information, and that's why they have systematically developed into methods by which you can clearly understand how humans process information or how mental models can be elicited. So hope you find this topic interesting. Please share your thoughts. Until we meet again, it's Anup Jayakumar signing off.